and documents from Maggie Mulvaney, a former Trump campaign staffer and niece of Trump's former acting chief of staff, Mick Mulvaney, who also happens to be the current House Republican staffer, Also of interest is former Trump campaign aide Katrina Pearson, who was reportedly a liaison between the White House and the organizers of the January 6th rally. As the House Select Committee continues its work, the disgraced ex-president is trying to gum up the process. He's reportedly planning to issue a lawsuit to block the release of his administration's White House records invoking executive privilege. It's a lot. So joining me now is a man with intimate knowledge of this investigation, Democratic Representative Jamie Raskin of Maryland. He's a member of the House Select Committee on the January 6th attack. He was a former lead House manager in the second impeachment trial of Donald Trump, and he's a constitutional expert. Congressman Raskin, it is good to see you again this morning. Thank you for being with us. I want to start by understanding this concept of criminal referrals, because most of us will never be subpoenaed to Congress, so we won't really know. What are you supposed to do, and what does the threat of criminal referrals mean?
Well, those are two different things. The criminal referral is if our select committee on January 6th comes in possession of evidence relating to criminal conduct by people that the Department of Justice is currently unaware of, we will refer it over to them. In other words, if we have knowledge of crimes that took place that the DOJ doesn't know about, we're going to send it to them. For subpoenas, look, we've got all of the same authority that a court would have to issue subpoenas. So if you get one of these subpoenas, that's not an optional thing. That is legally mandatory. And we can coerce your cooperation through criminal contempt or civil contempt, or what's called the inherent contempt powers of Congress, where we actually can call people before Congress and fine them and use our own sanctions. That hasn't been done for a long time, but I don't think anybody should be testing our patience at this point.
What about Donald Trump testing it? What about Donald Trump saying that this is executive privilege and his group of people attempting to stop you getting information or testimony?
Well, legally, I think it will be fruitless on his part. But before you even talk about that, everybody should just register for a second what we're talking about here. The President of the United States is saying he doesn't want to give testimony or relevant evidence, or he will prevent other people from giving testimony or relevant evidence to the United States Congress, which is investigating the worst attack on the U.S. Capitol since the War of 1812. And the president is trying to sweep everything, the former president's trying to sweep everything under the rug. That's remarkable. Luckily, the ball is basically in the court of the current president under the laws that we have governing the release of this information. And the last several administrations have released testimony and evidence from prior administrations. So Obama released stuff when there was an investigation into, remember, the torture memos, released stuff from the Bush administration. The Bush administration released stuff during the 9/11 investigation from Clinton and the prior Bush administration, and so on. So we really think that it's going to be up to the Biden administration, which has signaled its eagerness to participate in getting to the bottom of this attack. And as for executive privilege, that really belongs primarily to the current president. To the extent that it's been offered to former presidents, it's been in a very weak form, because it's really testing the public's interest in getting to the truth versus some national security interest. Here, both of those interests are on the same side. The public wants the truth, and we need the truth in order to protect the security of the government, the security of the people against terrorist attacks like the ones we saw on January the 6th.
There's nobody smarter on how the system works and, in fact, about what happened on January 6th because of the amount of research that you've done, not only as a lead impeachment manager, but you were there. You tweeted something on September 24th, and I just want to get greater clarity on this criminal referral question that I asked you, because you said, we're going to subpoena them. They're going to follow the law. That's it. If any of them think they're going to be able to slither away from this, they should be wondering about the information we've already got. So I just want to be clear. When Chairman Thompson said, we're going to offer criminal referrals. Is that for not showing up or not giving the information that you've requested? Or is that for the fact that they may have been underlying criminal activity?
It could be both. In other words, if we come into possession of information about people having committed crimes on January 6th that the DOJ is currently unaware of, we're going to turn that over. But at the same time, the chairman has signaled our determination to get all of the information we're asking for. It's just not discretionary or optional. If the government subpoenas documents from you or testimony from you, you've got to come and testify unless you're going to assert a Fifth Amendment privilege against self-incrimination or some other lawful privilege. But we don't think that exists. Now, if President Trump would want to come forward hypothetically, or someone else, and say, I'm exercising my Fifth Amendment privilege against self-incrimination, then that sets off a whole other process where they could be given what's called use immunity. That, in other words, we will immunize you from use of any information you give us, but you do still have to testify. So that's possible too. The point is, we're not going to play these games that we saw during the Trump administration, where they treated a congressional subpoena like some kind of optional thing or some kind of hide and go seek game. That's not what it is. This is deadly serious stuff. We're asking for the information, and we owe a comprehensive report to the American people about what took place and what changes we need to make through our entire system of government, constitutional, statutory, security, in order to protect democracy against right-wing, violent extremist attack and political manipulation and coups.
Congressman Raskin, good to see you as always. We're always smarter after hearing you give us the granular explanations that we need for those of us who are just not as familiar with it. Jamie Raskin of Maryland is a member of the House Select Committee on January 6th. He's always able to usher us through some of these. As those who know me,